the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. This is Carolina Week.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for the February 21st edition of Carolina Week. I'm Brooke Baldwin.
And I'm Bridget Williams. We're proud to be bringing you coverage of Carolina news and events. UNC finally has a new student body president, but it's clear the choice was difficult. Justin Young was overwhelmed Tuesday night when he captured the office of student body president. Young's supporters were ecstatic when the results came in. His opponent, Eric Johnson, won the popular vote last week, but came up 30 votes short in the runoff. Each of the other 5 candidates on the ballot last week endorsed Young in the runoff. Young says he doesn't care how it happened. He's just glad to be the winner.
I'm just excited. I'm really pumped, and I don't even know how to describe how I feel right now. It's really weird because, like, when it first happened, I couldn't even move. Like, I was just so in shock and in awe. So, I mean, but it's awesome. I mean, I'm happy.
Young receives a $2,000 stipend with the victory, but he says he plans to give it back to the students through the Student Empowerment Endowment.
A lot of effort goes into running for student body president for most candidates, but as Carolina Week's Courtney Quinn tells us, one candidate did quite well even though he wasn't in the race.
Julius Peppers was recently voted the best two-sport athlete in the nation by the Sporting News. And on Student Election Day, many Tar Heels voted to give him another honor.
Oh, I voted for Julius Peppers because I think he would represent me well as student body president.
Freshman Alex Gaze wasn't the only one voting for the Carolina All-Star. With 222 votes, Julius Peppers won more votes as a write-in candidate than 3 candidates whose names were on the ballot. Not only did he come in 5th place in the student body presidential elections, he also won 5 congressional seats. He has declined positions, however, because filling up these seats takes up most of his time. This isn't the first time a Carolina athlete has made waves in an election. Daily Tar Heel columnist Brian Frederick led a campaign last year to put Brian Burstaker in the president's office.
At a school like Carolina, I think it would be great to have a basketball player as student body president.
Burstaker came in 3rd place. Current SBP Brad Matthews can see of President Peppers.
I think Pep's got a lot going for him. I mean, he's a very intimidating person. And I think he could probably project his will on a lot of administrators here, and that might actually help us out sometimes.
There is one benefit to Peppers not being elected. We don't have to stand in line trying to get tickets to see the SBP in action. In Chapel Hill, I'm Courtney Quinn, Carolina Week.
Basketball star Joseph Forte also won a seat in Student Congress, but he too decided to pass on the position.
Reed Cheney and Michael Songer are still waiting to see which one of them will be the new Carolina Athletic Association president. Last week's election gave Cheney 2,585 votes and Songer 2,453 votes. Cheney was declared the winner, but he didn't receive a majority of the vote. Because of the controversy surrounding an email encouraging students to support Cheney, an email that Songer says slandered him, the Board of Elections delayed the runoff until February 27th. Whoever becomes the new CAA president will have to deal with the perception that something is wrong with the way basketball ticket distribution is handled. Carolina Week's Nicole Brusick says charges could lead to changes in the system.
Students wait for hours trying to get tickets to the game. But getting a seat inside the Dean Dome to cheer on our Tar Heels may not be easy or fair. In Monday's edition of the Daily Tar Heel, the Lambda Chi fraternity was accused of receiving 8 highly prized Duke Carolina basketball tickets unfairly. But when I asked them about it, they refused to comment on camera. So we headed directly to the CAA president.
This academic year we've always had a lot of, different ways to cheat the system.
However, Pruitt maintains that there was nothing underhanded about the most recent ticket distribution. Getting basketball tickets is complicated. Students go to the Dean Dome and get a numbered bracelet. Then they wait to find out which number will be first in line for tickets. Then they wait again in line on Saturday morning. The number is chosen by the CAA behind closed doors, and having the right number means watching the game in the dome instead of on the tube. But ticket distribution may be changing because the Carolina Athletic Association is getting a new leader. Either Michael Sogner.
Next year, we'd like to change that and have like a live public drawing of the ticket number, so there won't be any question, of whether or not the number was fixed or whether it's a fair number.
Or Reed Cheney.
We'll have them come to the pit during the week, Monday through Thursday from 9 to 5, we'll say, and they can get bracelets in.
Many students are frustrated and want to see the system change, so there isn't even an appearance of wrongdoing. In Chapel Hill, I'm Nicole Brusick, Carolina Week.
Some have suggested that students shouldn't have any role in deciding how basketball tickets are distributed.
The CAA controversy has many students wondering if there's a better way to distribute these basketball tickets. In today's Speak Out segment, we asked members of the Carolina community whether they think the current system of ticket distribution should change.
I really don't like the idea of waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday and not even knowing whether you got the ticket or not, and just standing there in the cold for about 2 hours until you actually do find out.
This with the distribution, the bracelets, it's a pain to have to get up that early to keep them on. But I think that's the most fair way to do it so far.
I do think that it's real easy to go down and get more than one bracelet, and I think that somehow a lot of people don't end up being fairly represented, but I really don't have any suggestions as to how to change it.
I think it's a lot better now than it was before they started announcing the number in the morning, because a lot less people are getting 2 or 3 bracelets because it's pointless now.
I don't have a problem with it. I think they're trying to do the best they can, but I know a lot of people who are possibly bigger fans than I feel like camp out was more fair, and that this way sort of is too random.
Our sample of opinions is in no way scientific and shouldn't be taken as a reflection of widespread opinions on campus.
One thing there seems to be no controversy about is whether online voting works, at least here at UNC-Chapel Hill. The ease of casting ballots by computer led to higher voter turnout in this year's student elections. That makes some wonder if we could use this new method for state and national elections.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. The Supreme Court of the great state of Florida is now in session.
Who could forget Florida's Chad problems, the nation in an uproar and the world laughing about it? All the confusion and recounts led to calls for changes in the way voting is done. One idea for change and improvement is online voting, something working here at UNC-Chapel Hill, where turnout was boosted by more than 2,000 votes this year. Orange County Board of Elections Director Carolyn Thomas says online voting is years away in North Carolina's future.
As far as online voting down the road for Orange County, which is going to be down the road, we have discussed having several different locations for people that do not have computers or have access to computers.
State and national online elections might be years away, but had the system been in place this past November, we might have avoided manual recounts and waiting for absentee ballots. But not all students think voting online is safe for major elections.
As far as the national election goes, I think I'd prefer to vote in the voting box just for security reasons.
Confidentiality and security are issues. Stephen Gerald is among those who brought the system to Carolina students. He says the security procedures used for online campus elections aren't very different from what will be needed to get a state or national online election going.
We would need to have some way to authenticate that the person coming into the system was who they said they were. So we would have to have some sort of ID and password mechanism or some other type of technical mechanism to allow us to be sure it is the right person voting.
Officials are testing online voting systems in California and Arizona.
Direct record voting systems with touch screens could be in place within the next few years in North Carolina.
For weeks, Chapel Hill police knew their faces, and now they know the names of some of the students they were looking for in connection with vandalism on Franklin Street. One of the students police were looking for, James Haltom, was in court Tuesday with his lawyer. He recently turned himself in at the Chapel Hill Police Department. Both he and another student, Robert Davenport III, are charged with felony rioting. Police say that the two were part of a group that overturned a car in a celebration after the Duke-Carolina basketball game. Thousands of Tar Heels flooded Franklin Street to celebrate Carolina's win. Haltom and Davenport will appear in court again March 22nd in Hillsborough.
For most students, relying on class rank is a way of life, but some think rank shouldn't matter.
Well, we'll tell you about one local student that thinks its student should be more than just a number when Carolina Week continues.
During the fall, one of the most peaceful places on campus is the Forest Theater. Many great plays are held in this place of serenity. But my favorite times are when nothing at all is going on, and the colorful canopy of leaves overhead shelters you from the cares of the world. No one knows the real Carolina like a student.
Let your knowledge grow at the North Carolina Botanical Garden. Through public service, research, conservation, and education. The garden brings North Carolina's rich natural heritage to you. It's a beautiful way to learn.
Governor Mike Easley says education is his #1 priority, and at his first State of the State address, the governor tackled North Carolina's education plan. But he seemed to fumble the ball in addressing the state's $700 million budget shortfall. With a reoccurring theme of no excuses, the governor told the General Assembly in Raleigh Monday night that he won't let a slowing economy get in his way of improving public education. Easley focused on his pre-kindergarten plan, but didn't outline the state's future for higher education. Many people are wondering how the state's budget deficit will affect the public university system. Some university students wonder why he emphasizes the state's youngest students, but not them.
And we cannot stop now.
I mean, if we teach them all these things and then when they get to college, they're not going to have the resources that they need to be competitive, then what's the point?
Because in order to get to where he is, he had to go through an education system too, and it wasn't just lower education. So I think the budget and his overall campaigning needs to be refocused again, and he needs to deal with the issues that he said he was going to deal with.
In addition to introducing his pre-K program, Easley pushed for a state lottery to help pay for it.
Each year, high school students compete to be #1 in their class, but in one area high school, the class rank competition could be coming to an end. UNC-Chapel Hill High School enjoys high national ranks by Newsweek magazine and high rankings in state athletic competition. But school administrators are working to eliminate the rank that classifies students by GPA. They say it indicates very little about an individual's student academic success. School officials are trying to solicit letters of support for the idea from admission directors at selective colleges. They did not get support from the plan from UNC Board of Admissions. School administrators are waiting for final approval from the State Board of Education.
As the old saying goes, there are two things you can't escape: death and taxes. Although taxes don't officially have to be in until mid-April, now is the time to begin getting ready to file with the IRS. Accountants say college students especially should file early because they're likely to get a refund. That's because most students are still claimed as dependents by their parents and work only part-time, two factors that indicate whether they'll get a refund or have to pay additional taxes. You can pick up tax forms near the reference desk at Davis Library, and if all that tax stuff is just a bit confusing, you can find help at www.irs.com. Again, that web address is www.irs.com.
The American Cancer Society's most widely known fundraising event is underway in Chapel Hill. The Relay for Life is a team-based event that raises money to fight cancer. The 24-hour walk is still 2 months away, but this past Sunday, the Orange County Division of Relay for Life held its kickoff for the community to sign up to participate. Last year, walkers raised more than $168 million in the nationwide event. Cancer survivor Rebecca Now says it's important to help in any way you can.
Just so many people are touched with cancer just in a growing rate, and you just never know who it could happen to. So,
American Cancer Society officials say about 40% of North Carolinians will develop cancer during their lives. For more information about how to get involved, contact Mark Huber at 933-2963. That number again is 933-2963.
This week's changing weather caught many surprise students without their umbrellas.
Carolina Week's Kelly Mahoney is here to tell us what we can expect for the weekend.
Well, we were teased again by the spring-like weather earlier this week, and now we're seeing quite a bit of change for the remainder of both this week and the weekend ahead. I'll be back in just a minute to let you know what's on the way.
I wonder how Silent Sam feels about guarding the university from groups of third-grade kids. Maybe he's lost interest. We haven't heard his rifle fire recently. Still he stands, a steadfast defender of something. What is it? No one knows the real Carolina like a student. Carolina Week, the student news show.
Well, the weather's been so fickle lately, it just keeps changing, been a bit like summer.
Yeah, it's a little confusing.
Yeah, it's been real hard to forecast too, so we're doing what we can though. And I'm not sure if you guys knew, but this week is actually North Carolina Severe Weather Awareness Week. So my question for you has to do with weather safety. And that is, what is the safest thing to do during a tornado? Is it A, open doors and windows, B, head to the southwest corner of your basement, C, get out your video camera and tape that, or D, get to an interior room such as a bathroom or a closet? See if you can narrow those choices down, and I'll get back to you with the answer at the end of the forecast. Now, if we take a look at that changing, crazy North Carolina weather that we talked about earlier, you can see gray skies and breezy conditions as this unsettled weather is ushering in a cold front. Some more changing weather is on the way, and I'll show you what that means for your 4-day forecast in just a little bit. But first, let's talk about North Carolina's Severe Weather Awareness Week. We're going to do a little quick review about who is most at risk from certain weather features. The first one being lightning. People that face the greatest danger in thunderstorms with lightning are people under trees or tall objects or in or near the water. Now, if you're in a storm that causes flash flooding, people in your car are definitely in the most danger. And if a tornado happens to be spawned by severe weather, people in mobile homes or in their cars or automobiles are at the greatest risk. Now, let's take a look at that surface map I was talking about before. There's a lot going on right now. You can see two cold fronts, one after the other, just going to be pushing through our area. Now, the first one features a chance for some wintry mix and precipitation, and as always, we're right on the boundary, so it's always a gamble to see what happens, but in any event, it shouldn't be too severe, so we don't have much to worry about. Now, on the other hand, there's a pretty strong front right behind that could usher in some severe weather later in the weekend. So let's take a look at what we have for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. On Friday, we can see a high of 54 degrees and some nice weather. Saturday keeps that sun out with 50 degrees. And Sunday, we see a chance for some rain and thunderstorms. Monday looks good as we start the work week. Now, if you're headed out to the beach this weekend, things look pretty nice there as well, at least on Saturday. Sunday, we see a chance for some rain. And out in the mountains, we see that rain kind of come in a little bit earlier on Sunday, but all in all, not a bad weekend. Now, the ski slopes are reporting in with some slopes that aren't open anymore, but we still have some options. Appalachian checking in with 9, Sugar Mountain still up with 19. So if that's what your plans are for the weekend, you're still in pretty good shape. So, well, there certainly are no tornadoes in the forecast this week, but it's on the way with springtime coming. So what do you think is the safest thing to do?
Not quite sure. What would that answer be?
Yeah, a lot of them are confusing actually, but the best idea is to go to an interior room, such as a bathroom or a closet. That's the safest idea.
All right.
Thanks,
Kelly. That was a tough one for our top-ranked Heels on Sunday.
How far did the Heels fall in the rankings thanks to the Tigers?
Well, they fell down to second place, so not too bad, but just behind Stanford. Coming up in sports, we'll talk about Tiger bites, Seminole attacks, and going to break, we'll have another banner hanging in the natatorium as the women's swimming and diving team won the ACC championship this past weekend in Virginia, and Virginia finished second and Clemson finished third. It's the 14th title in the past 23 years for the Heels.
To a child, a little of your time can make a lifetime of difference. That's why the Greenville Family Partnership sponsored a hike, because kids with something to do are less likely to do drugs.
Standing right in front of them.
Whether you're a good storyteller or a good listener, You can help. To find out about community drug prevention programs, call toll-free 1-877-KIDS-313.
I can keep a kid off drugs.
Welcome back to Carolina Week. The men's basketball team's 18-game winning streak is no more. The run came to an end against the Clemson Tigers. It was the upset of the year in the ACC so far, as the 1-10 and last place Tigers beat the #1 ranked Heels 75-65 in Littlejohn Coliseum. The Heels looked a little rusty after an 8-day layoff and shot only 38% for the game. Will Solomon led the Tiger attack with 26 points, 13 of them coming in the first 6 minutes of the second half. The now second-ranked Heels tackle the Seminoles of FSU on Thursday in the Dean Dome. The women's hoopsters continue to struggle, having lost a heartbreaker to FSU on senior day this past Sunday. LaQuanda Barksdale had 30 points and 16 rebounds, the 36th double-double of her career in a losing cause, as the Heels fell 80-78 in overtime. It was the last time Barksdale, Juana Brown, Leah Sharp, and Jackie Myers will play at home in Carmichael. It's been a rough conference stretch for the Light Blue, as the ladies lost their 7th conference game of the year, and all of them by an average of just 4 points. The Heels fell to 5th place in the conference and still ahead road trips to both NC State and Duke. As spring sports kick off in what has been unspring-like weather conditions, one UNC athlete is continuing to break Carolina records. Carolina Week's Ayanna Banks has a story of a softball pitcher, Rodera McHugh.
As she comes out the gates, all eyes focus on her. In only the second week of this season, she's ACC Player of the Week. We speak of none other than UNC softball pitcher Rodera McHugh. The Oklahoma native says she has high hopes for this season.
I would love to win ACCs, definitely. That's like a big deal. It'd be nice to get the ring.
Even if she and the team don't get the ring, Rodera will undoubtedly leave her mark on Carolina softball. Currently, this senior holds UNC career records for appearances, games started, complete game shutouts, and wins.
I think it's awesome. I never thought it would happen. I never thought anything like this would happen.
Carolina's pitching coach Beverly Smith says she's always been aware of Rodera's talents. Smith had a hand in developing Rodera's game, and she's been so great as a coach. Rodera is now taking over some of Smith's records.
Rodera told me just the other day, she said, "Bev, my goal this year is to break your scoreless innings record." And I said, good. And so we were in a game this weekend in Raleigh, and she said, "I've got one more inning, and I'm going to break it." And I said, great.
Smith and the rest of the team are truly proud of Rodera's accomplishments. Maybe her ability comes from a true love of the position.
Knowing that the ball is in your hands at every play is probably the best thing.
And her teammates want her to have the ball in big games. In Chapel Hill, I'm Ayanna Banks, Carolina Week.
McHugh wants to coach on the collegiate level after graduation. She's already received some offers. Another spring sport at UNC gets the season underway. The men's lacrosse team, which welcomed new head coach John House this weekend. 10th-ranked Carolina gets off to a sluggish start against Fairfield, trailing at halftime 4-2. Tar Heels continue to battle in the second half, but still find themselves in the hole 6-3 halfway through the third period. Senior All-American attackman Jeff Sunke propels the Tar Heels to a comeback victory at Navy Field. Here with a nice alley-oop to Stephen Will. In the end, UNC comes out on top 12-7 to start off 2001 1-0. The Heels athletic teams have added another trophy in the case. This past Saturday, the women's indoor track and field teams took home the ACC title. The Heels won their 9th consecutive ACC indoor championship at Virginia Tech. Clemson finished second and Georgia Tech finished third. It's the 13th title in the past 15 years for head coach Dennis Craddock. Freshman Shalane Flanagan set a meet record with a mile time of 4 minutes and 37 seconds, breaking the old record by more than 5 seconds. Some Carolina sports winning ACC championships now, others just getting started. Should be pretty exciting.
Yeah, and hopefully more championships to come.
The more the better.
Thanks, Devin.
Well, find out just how far UNC sororities are willing to go to raise money for a worthy cause.
University students suit up and slam down for the 3rd annual dance marathon. We'll have the story when Carolina Week returns.
Women's Center, may I help you?
The Women's Center is a nonprofit agency that has served as a meeting place for women in the Triangle since 1979, making it one of the oldest freestanding women's centers in the country. The mission of the Women's Center is to provide a supportive community where all women can inspire each other to grow, both personally and professionally.
I was going through a crisis at home, and I contacted Helpline, and they referred me directly to the Women's Center.
I think the Women's Center is really important for the community because it offers so many different kinds of resources, and if we don't have the resource here, we can find an avenue or a way for women to find the answers that they need.
It is inspiring. It's so exciting to be a part of something that really matters and really changes things.
You can support the Women's Center through membership or by sending a contribution to the Women's Center, 210 Henderson Street, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27514.
The Ronald McDonald House is a nonprofit organization that provides a home away from home for families of children being treated at UNC hospitals. Since opening in 1988, the house has welcomed more than 1,000 families each year to stay at this safe haven. The house relies heavily on community support. How can you help? Become a volunteer. Help the house that love built. The Ronald McDonald House, the house with a heart.
Look, Mom, Sparky!
Now, Sparky has been neutered and received all the vaccinations that are included in that small adoption fee that we discussed up front.
Is spaying and neutering a problem?
Yes, unfortunately it is. In fact, that's why we have so many of these animals.
%70% of the animals are never adopted from a shelter. You can make a difference. Adopt a pet.
Would you get down and dirty on the football field for your favorite charity?
Sorority women are running, blocking, and passing for UNC's Dance Marathon. UNC sororities competed in a powder puff football tournament Saturday to raise money for this year's marathon. The winning sorority received $200 to be donated in its name to Dance Marathons for the Kids Fund. The powder puff tournament is part of a 6-month sorority fundraising competition. Dan Brand is the head of a Greek fundraising for Dance Marathon. He says the tournament isn't about just about raising money.
It's more of the satisfaction that your team is the toughest and most athletic sorority when it comes to playing on the gridiron.
The 3rd annual Dance Marathon takes place this Friday and Saturday in Fetzer Gym. The money raised in the Powder Puff tournament and all of Dance Marathon goes to the North Carolina Children's Hospital. The money helps cover families' expenses while their children are here in Chapel Hill for treatment at the hospital.
It's a nice charity.
It really is.
Yeah. Well, that does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thank you for joining us, and we will be sure to come back next week. Until then, have a good night and a good week.
Good night.
If you have a story idea, contact Carolina Week at 843-8292. You can also visit us online at ibiblio.org/CW. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNC-CH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27599.
From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of